Luke, you're going to pick up from here.
Thank you, Chair. This question for Julian. I'm a big fan of bike hire schemes. In Plymouth, we've got the fantastic Plymouth Bike Hire. In London, we seem to have an explosion of different operators. What I'm really keen to understand is, as demand, do you think there's evidence that there is a real demand for bike hire schemes right across the UK, not just in big cities?
What an excellent question, Luke. I think 2017 is the year of the bike. Or bike share to be more precise. Yep. We saw more growth, more new entrants into the market than anyone else. But crucially at the same time, we saw more demand from the consumer as well. I was looking through our figures for this year so far, and bear in mind we're only in May, and we're already seeing us break every single record we've had in the UK in terms of ride per bike in every single scheme, from as far up as Stirling and as far down as Exeter. But not only that, we're seeing demand coming in for schemes across the country as well. So we are growing from 7 schemes as of the start of this year to 13 schemes across 19 regions, 19 towns and cities rather, because that includes the West Midlands Combined Authority, which would be 7 towns and cities. But I think what's really exciting and relevant to this panel today is the approach that's been taken in the West Midlands, which is to have from day one a fully integrated approach to it. So there's going to be 7 towns and cities with the same bike share scheme, which has to be integrated in with their preferred provider of mobility as a service, but also with their smart ticketing as well. So I think by doing that, you can then bring in smaller towns into an overall scheme. The big danger with the gold rush that we saw in 2017 was there was great opportunities to go to big cities and say, we will give you a free bike share scheme. But you need to leave it to us where we put that bike share scheme. So they would then cherry pick the most profitable parts of the city. And you can see clear examples of that from last year. What that then means is it's very difficult for another bike share provider to come in and provide accessibility to those less economically affluent parts of the towns and cities. And I think that's incredibly dangerous. And if we're going to make sure that smaller towns and cities and less financially viable parts of towns and cities are put in place, I think we do need to have a bigger perspective than just, great, let's get bikes on the street. There has to be more collaboration with the local authorities.
In my head, there's 2 different types of bike hire schemes. You've got the ones with a set docking station, and then you've got the ones like OFO and Mobike that seem to just be littered across the streets, depending on where they go. Do you think we need a better regulatory framework in the UK as to how to manage the growth in bike share that we're going to see in the coming years?
I think the short answer is yes. The slightly longer answer is it's been very easy to divide it from docked and dockless because they are visible difference. The traditional providers in the UK have gone traditionally with docked, and there's reasons for that, and it's to do with antisocial behaviour predominantly, which is less of a problem in Europe. I mean, 20% of our schemes outside of the UK are actually dockless at next point. Not a well-known fact, but it's because we don't need the security of the docking systems that we need in the UK. I think it's not so much what you do, it's how you do it, and I think in terms of regulatory framework, that's where the focus needs to be, where the local authorities are given the ability to determine who does and doesn't work within the city and town, and the criteria for working within it. That's like franchising for every other form of public transport. There is a set of boundaries that are put in place.
Is that similar to, say, how local authorities get to provide, or say, who has a taxi licence?
I would say something along those lines. I mean, bear in mind, we have the rather ridiculous situation where one town had to resort to using their anti-littering laws to remove an operator from their town because they didn't agree with the way that they were operating. And when the operator refused to move, the only thing they could do is say, technically we're going to define this bicycle as a litter. I think we need to have something a bit better than that. If we had taxis going around that weren't MOT'd and things like that, they'd be off the street as quick as you like. We could have bikes on the street tomorrow which haven't passed any EU regulations. And I can't think of anything more dangerous than that, to be honest.
Can I ask a final question? Is bike hire schemes seem to be the greenwashing across quite a lot of mass schemes because you've got buses, trains, taxis, and at the moment most of them are not electric potentially, and so bike hire is the nice green bit. How can you make sure that your bike hire schemes in mobility as a service isn't just greenwashing?
The straightforward answer is, again, collaboration. I mean, from our experience in Cologne, it's a great case study, which I'm quite happy to provide as written evidence to the panel later today, shows that by actually having a properly integrated in bike share scheme with the buses, the trams and the trains, all under one brand, KVB, wonderfully forward-looking, they saw a massive leap. So it was in everyone's interest. 90% of the people using the bike share scheme in the first 12 months were KVB season ticket holders, who were then using it as that first final mile part of their journey. But more importantly, it was taking people out of their cars and onto public transport. Lyon's another fantastic example where they integrated bike share in with the transport there. After 12 months, they saw a 7% drop in car usage in the city. I mean, that's not greenwashing, that's real impact.
Thank you.